Hey everyone, so this is Marco Polo's season 1, episode 6, titled The White Moon. And the episode starts off with a flashback to before the events that are taking place as of right now. Um, and basically see that the girl who's playing the girl Coca-chan in previous episodes is not actually Coca-chan at all. She is a woman named Nagui. Um, and it seems like she's very close, if not a servant, to the real Koga-chan, aka the Blue Princess. And basically, what's happening in the scene is that the real Blue Princess and Nagui um, are holed up in the Blue Princess's uh, room, and they're trying to hold off getting captured by Kublai, uh, or Kublai's army at this point. And so Kokachin um, is trying to kill herself because she feels that it's better to die than to be um, under the thumb of Kublai. Um, Nagui feels differently. She says, "At least you'll be alive and you won't be dead." Um, but the real Kokachin doesn't really believe that, and so what Kokachin, the real Blue Princess, does is she undresses and gets naked, and then stabs herself in the abdomen, and then you presumably assume she's dead at this by the time the current events are happening. Then as Kublai's army is goes into the Blue Princess's room, you see someone standing in what the Blue Princess was previously wearing before she got undressed. And Nagui turns around, and she's in the real Blue Princess's attire, and then you're left to assume that everyone believes that Nagui is the real Blue Princess, and everything. So um, then you see Koku-chin now, aka Nagui, sitting down in modern day Mongolia, as is in the 13th century, um, and she's being uh, dressed in jewelry and stuff by her friend and protector. I still don't know what his name is. I still need to look that up. So next episode, before next I review next episode, I will make sure I know what that guy's name is. I don't know what that guy's name is, and it's been like that for like the last 2-3 episodes now, and I need to get on top of that. But anyway, so there's the guy that is there to protect Koka-chan, the fake Koka-chan, is helping her to get dressed, and she doesn't want to go to this welcoming of Kaidu's daughter. Kaidu's daughter's name is Kutulan. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll just keep saying Kaidu's daughter because I don't want to keep butchering it for the rest of the series. So I'm just gonna call her Kaidu's daughter. So Kaidu's daughter is being welcomed by Kublai, and later that night or later that day, and she doesn't really want to go welcome her because she yeah, I assume it's because she acts too much like a man, and she doesn't act like a woman should. Um, and But her friend, protector person, says that her absence will definitely be noticed if she doesn't attend, and so what she'll do is she'll go and behave herself, and may find that her and Kaidi's daughter have more in common than she realizes. But the fake blue princess is very doubtful about that. When her friend looks into the jewelry box a second later, he notices that she's missing another trinket, as he puts it. And she says that she lost the bracelet while riding one day, and it slipped off her wrist. And he offers to eliminate the risk of her losing any more trinkets by just, keeping her from riding anymore. Basically, that's the end of that scene, and it goes to Marco seeing his father and uncle leaving. And Niccolo tells Marco that he knows that he saved his life, and that his uncle knows it too, even though he won't say it verbally or anything. And then as Marco watches Niccolo and Maffeo leave, Bayamba comes up behind Marco and says to Marco that his father and uncle are now very vulnerable because Niccolo and Maffeo don't have any fresh horses. They're not granted, then they don't have the golden tablet anymore that allows them safe passage, basically. They won't have any lodging or anything like that, so that's why Biamba feels like both Marco's father and uncle won't have any, or will be vulnerable and everything. And then Bayamba's, tells Marco that, Kublai is waiting for their response and expects an answer before the White Moon Festival, or the next night, I think it's supposed to be. And so, as they go do this, Kaidu's daughter arrives and sees Marco, and she makes him go with her, even though he tells her that he has an important business thing to attend to. Then it cuts to Jingham asking his father what Marco learned on his trip to find out who hired the assassins, and Kublai is like, he had as much luck as Yusuf did with torturing the third assassin that was captured and taken into custody and everything. And Jingham's like, is that all they find? And Kublai's like, yeah, that's all they find. And then the Empress comes in and tells him that Kaidu's daughter has arrived, and Kublai's like, is she dressed as a warrior or a lady? And the Empress is like, the former, basically, the warrior. And Kublai laughs at that, and it's like, I love that girl. And then you see Kaidi's daughter, offering her service to protect Kublai since she heard of his attack. And he's all like, I have enough protection and stuff. I don't need any more protection. But he's like, okay, fine, I'll accept it anyway because you're offering and being gracious about it. And then after the whole World Court's adjourned from Kaidu's daughter's welcome, Marco asks Kokchen who she leaves the stones for, and she says she can't tell him who because he'll get in trouble and yada yada yada. She then tells him that it was her who put the snake in the bag, but she didn't know that it was him who would find the bag because she feared discovery of her riding alone and everything. And then he tells her that he'll handle the gems from now on, and that's when she takes off a bracelet and gives it to him. And then that's the end of that, for now, at least the whole. Um, Marco taking gems for her and everything. And then you see, next scene, you see Jingham calling Bayamba brother, and Bayamba's like, well, I fear that when you call me brother instead of bastard, that you have ulterior motives here or a request. And Jingham's like, well, regardless if that's true or not, if there's anything newsworthy to report, and Bayamba tells that he needs to know, and Bayamba's like, well, I tell the Khan first because Khan ultimately needs to know first because he's the Khan, and if the Khan wants Jingham to know what it is, and the Khan will tell Jingham, and that's how the order of things go. Um, And needless to say, Jingham isn't really happy about this at all. And then so Bayamba and Marco are seen outside the tax collector's house, or Sangha, as I found out later is his name. So they are seen outside Sangha's house. Next scene, and Marco's like, well, one of them says that he lost. They seem to have lost everything. I can't remember who at this particular moment, but one of them says that they lost everything. That Sangha's family has lost everything basically because of Sangha being having been revealed to be taking or giving taxes and receiving taxes in the form of linen. Marco believes that there's nothing there but pain, so they really shouldn't be there. Bayamba is like, well, no, you don't know that. We need to be absolutely sure that there's nothing there. And so they go and they talk to the mother or Sangha's wife calls Marco the Latin, or not the Latin devil, the white devil. And then you see Sangha's wife and Marco talk for a little bit while Bayamba compares a writing on the map that Marco was given by the old man to a piece of paper that has Sangha's writing on it, or handwriting on it. And then after all that happened, Sangha's wife is like, well, question the person who made him go to the city, where the assassins were, the place where the assassins were, not Sangha for doing as he was told. And then next thing you know, in the next scene, the Empress, Kokochin, and Kaidi's daughter are walking around the Imperial City and looking at the common people, and Kokochin is asked by Kaidi's daughter if Kokochin is questioning the devotion of the common people when Kokochin makes his offhand comment about them, and she says she's not, but then after that keeps quiet. And so the Empress is like, well, speak your mind. Go ahead and speak your mind. So Kokochin's like, well, since the Empress hasn't really walked out the city without a guard, her perception of the common people is tempered or different than what it would be if the Empress had walked the city without a guard, or is different than what it would be if she had walked with a guard. And she continues to say that the common people love the Khan because he eases their pain and feels their wants. But their pains and wants are never really permanently stamped out, and that can bring resentment. And basically the Empress is like, well, was it different in her city? And Kokochin was like, well, they were more direct with their people and everything, so it's obviously different than in the Khan's Mongolian city, or Imperial City, sorry. and the Khan, or Kokachin believes the Khan should know what people are thinking before he walks among them in the festival the following night. So that's the end of that particular scene. I don't think they bring it up again at all later in the episode. But yeah, so now it shifts to back in Jongyong, where Sadao is sitting with his niece, and he is rebinding her feet, and he asks her if the pain is bad today, and she's like no, or she shakes her head no, but the Empress is like, well, the girl is too old for binding, or she says that of course she's in pain, she's just basically not willing to say anything about it because she's a little girl. What she's gonna do to a guy or a man who is not only taller than her, or not only older than her, but taller than her. So what the fuck is she gonna do? And then the Empress is like, well, she's too old for binding, and they would have started it when she was a lot younger if her father wanted to. And so that was like, well, since the Emperor is dead, meaning that since her that the Emperor's dad, that Sadao will then decide for her, since he is her uncle and everything, and he's the only living male left in her family, or that at least that's older than her anyway. And so the Empress tells him that he is a powerful man who injures little children. Then she leaves. Excuse me. Then it goes back to Mongolia, where Mei Lin goes to the guy that she's been giving messages for her brother to, and she asked him why he summoned her, and then he motions toward a woman nearby who comes from Nanyang with new orders from Sadao, and the woman says she's gonna stay until the mission is complete, or she needs to stay until the mission is complete. And then Sadao offers tiger root, which I assume is a lethal poison, which is confirmed later on in the episode. And Mei Lin is wondering why there's no news of her daughter, because the note doesn't say anything. The woman tells her that Sadao started binding her, and obviously Mei Lin is distraught by that, because clearly she doesn't really want her daughter to be bound or anything like that, or her feet bound. That's not something that she wanted for her daughter or anything, and it shows on her face. And so the scene ends with that, and goes to Marco and Bayamba going to Ahmed with jewels and coins. And then Ahmed asks as well what they learned from the old man, and Marco tells them that they found evidence that Sangha was hired, or Sangha was ordered to hire the Hashashin. And Bayamba said that Sangha didn't choose to go, he was sent. And Marco then asks for Ahmed's guidance, and Ahmed's like, guidance? Why? Because he worked for me? And Ahmed says, well, Sangha worked for many people, including the city where the Hashashin were hired, and says the assassins deal much more than death. And Marco's like, well, you suspected and did nothing. And Ahmed is like, well, we can't squash corruption, and he can't condemn without proof. So Bayama's reply to that is like, if Sangha were dealing in black market activity, he would need agents, soldiers, horsemen, imperial guards, and everything. And Ahmed's like, well, still, I can't really do anything about that because I didn't have the proof. So that's the end of that for now. And then back in Jamyang, the Empress is talking to a bunch of council members, including Sadao. and she then tells everyone except for Sadao to leave, and she tells Sadao that the council members have chosen to dismiss him. She says that they have appreciated his service to the emperor, but his services are no longer required. Sadao tells her that she has no authority since she's an old woman with a dead husband and no power. And then the empress tells him that she has a new champion in the form of Feng Zhen, who is of the Red Lotus Society, and apparently this Feng Zhen is a guy who has successfully been able to keep the Mongols away, and everything, and that. So I assume that's part of the reason why that the Empress has asked him to come on, along with the fact that she wants to piss off Sadao, which I think successfully worked. And then so Sadao's like, well, I helped the city and against the Mongols, and I'll continue to help the city against the Mongols and everything. The Empress tells him that when they do talk to the Mongols, when they come back, that Feng Zhen will offer peace, and the Empress tells Sadao to take his pets and return to the rice paddies where he came from. Well, she's all full of the fucking sass today. I'm just like, I'm not mad though. I'm not mad because Sadao needs to be fucking put in his damn place. And there's nothing more than what I would love to see than seeing Sadao tortured for hours on end before he is killed, because this dude is fucking crazy. Like I said previously, he's just like, no, he's not, no. I mean, I get that you want to punish your sister for acting against you. I mean, who wouldn't when their sister or sibling basically does shit to kind of rebuke you? But I mean, to bound a girl's feet just because you want to get back at your fucking sister, I mean, come on, who does that to a little kid? Like, I mean, clearly he doesn't have any fucking conscience, and so therefore that's why I want his ass dead. Although I just don't feel like he's gonna be gone anytime soon. Anyway, I'll get back to that later. Back to the episode. So Jingham is seen, or not Jingham, okay, that's a little bit later. Marco and Bayamba then go to Yusef and ask him whether he remembers Sangha, and they do this while he's praying and everything. I think he is I think he is practicing damn, what the fuck, I can't even, what the trying to remember the religion that I'm thinking of. It's not Hinduism. I'm pretty sure, I'm thinking it's not Hinduism, but I could be wrong on that, but I'm thinking it is. Yusuf is a Muslim. I think he is, but mainly because of the way he's going about praying. That's why I think he's a Muslim, but I can't be 100% sure about that. But anyway, so Marco and Bayamba interrupt him while he's doing that, and asks him whether he remembers Sangha, and Yusuf is like, yeah, I do. And then Bayamba is like, well, you didn't really have to kill him, and it's like, well, yeah, well, even yes, I did, because I mean, I was in charge of his punishment and everything. So, and Marcos tells Yusuf that they think Songa was sent to hide the assassins by proxy, and asks Yusuf's advice, and Yusuf's like, well, you really think it was me? Do you really think that I had anything to do with it? Because if you do, you're wrong, because I have no heirs, and therefore I wouldn't be able to be a good leader, be a good replacement for to be Khan of Khans, because I don't have any heirs, and he's just a fucking servant. And he also tells them that he has only one purpose, which is to tell the truth. And then now cuts to Jingham asking Ahmed if his father is safe, and Ahmed's like, well, why don't you go ask him? And Jingham's like, well, he did, but it seems like Kublai trusts Bayamba Marco more than Jingham and only offers Jingham silence. Ahmed's like, well, the reason Kublai does this is because he doesn't want to burden you with trivialities. But Jingham's like, well, he doesn't want to burden me with the truth. That's the problem here. And Ahmed's like, Ahmed asked what Jingham would do with the truth, and Jingham's like, well, I will kill people with the truth. And Ahmed's like, well, Jingham, that's what Kublai knows what you will do, is you would just kill people. And Kublai knows what's in your heart. And Ahmed asks Jingham to protect him until there's Ahmed says to that he's gonna protect Jingham, just as he would ask Jingham to protect him until there's a real target. And then it cuts to Marco practicing shooting bows and arrows while riding a horse, and when he finishes shooting the last arrow, or shooting the arrow, he tells Hundred he's off by an inch, and then Hundred says to him, off by an inch, off by a mile. Hundred tells him then that when Marco first arrived, that he had too little yin and too much yang, and he reminds Marco to breathe with his horse, and then a minute or two later, Marco's like, well, that he thinks Yusuf was possibly lying with his words and everything, and Hundred Eyes is like, well, the grip of Yusuf is beyond reproach. And Marco responds to that by saying that Yusuf like I said, that Yusuf hides behind his words. Hundred Eyes asked if that's what he'll report, and then proceeds to tell Marco, untrue by an inch, untrue by a mile. Marco is then seen talking to Kublai while they play the game from a few episodes ago. And Kublai is like, well, who do you think is the person who hired the assassins? And Marco's like, well, I don't know. I don't want to say anything unless. But he knows that Songa traveled to where the assassins were hired, but not by whose orders, and he just doesn't want to accuse anybody. If it turns out that the person he accuses is actually innocent, and then Marco's like, well, all he knows is that someone wants Kublai's hand, but that he knows that it's not any of his children, like Jingham or Bayamba. At least that's what he feels is true, is that it's not Bayamba or Jingham. So when Marco leaves, Kublai then asks someone who's waiting in the wings if they still suspect him, and Yusuf comes out and says, a weaker man would give up a name to cast suspicion off of himself. And then Kublai's like, well, this was a man who was burdened with guilt, and then Yusuf says that he believes Marco to be neither of these types of men, and that his suspicion of Marco has waned. And then you see Mainland and the other concubines sitting in the House of Five Desires, getting ready to do whatever with Kublai and Mingling. You see Mingling putting the poison on her lips, and then next thing you know, you see Kaidi's daughter visiting Bayamba while he is training with the sword on a dummy person, and questions him about Marco. And eventually he asks her to wrestle, and they pull out the swords, and then it looks like they get into the crouching positions, and then it cuts to Kublai, the Empress and woman, in their royal bed. And Kublai and the woman, one of the concubines, are having sex while the Empress watches. Kublai motions for Milan to come to him when she enters the room, and she goes to him, and instead of kissing Kublai, she tries to kiss the Empress, and Kublai's like, well, only if it pleases the Queen, but she whispers to Milan that no, it's not it doesn't please me. So she forces Milan to kiss the woman having sex with Kublai, and then next thing you know, the woman's dead the next morning, and Ahmed's like, well, Ahmed is telling the other concubines who are crying that to buck up and stop crying and everything, because it's I guess unbecoming of a woman or something. And then he notices that Milan is the only consort not crying. As Sadao packs up his things, him and Feng Zhen talk about stuff and everything. I didn't write anything down about what they both said. And then it cuts to Kublai and Jingam back in Mongolia, talking about Jingam ascending to the throne, and Jingam asks if Kublai fears Jingam won't be placed on the throne when Kublai dies, and Jingam's and then Jingam also asks if Kublai feels he's a burden. Kublai says to Jingam that he is more than happy for Jingam to accept the throne and everything. Then Marco visits Toga, the man who Kokachin gave the jewels to, or the necklace to a few episodes ago, to help him. And then Marco realizes after Marco tells Toga that he knows who Toga is, that Toga loves the princess, and that he and so that's what they talk about for a few minutes. And then Marco apologizes to Songo's eldest daughter, and gives her the bracelet that Kokachin gave him. And then during the White Moon Festival, Marco comes to Kokachin and tells her that the bracelet was delivered. And when she says she will repay him later, he says that she will repay him with an answer to a question that he has now. And he asks, how is it that a peasant weds a princess? And her answer is that no royal person weds beneath their position, and that she can't be with Toga. Marco is like, well, what does Toga say about that though? And she doesn't really answer, and he's like, well, you're avoiding a direct response to his question. And silence is no shields. And he demands that if he is to deliver the gems anymore. And then over in the other side of where the royal court is sitting, the Empress tells Kublai that Jingle needs to take on a new wife as she stares at Kokachin. Kublai is like, well, hopefully one that is fertile because his current wife is too barren. And Kublai is like, well, do you have anyone in mind? And then you see Mei Lin attack the soldiers during a festival and almost kills the Empress. Or that's what it seems like. I'm not quite sure if this is another dream sequence or anything, but that's what it seems. It seems like it's real at the moment. And then you see the Empress shoots an arrow at Mei Lin, which pierces her left shoulder, and that's the end of the episode. So, well, I'm gonna assume that the last few minutes of the episode, it's just a dream sequence or a fantasy world, a fantasy happening in Mei Lin's head, and so I'm gonna assume that is the case, and still go with the prediction that Mei Lin is gonna end up leaving or running away from Mongolia and try to save her daughter and everything, while still under Kublai's thumb as a concubine, and I'm still like losing faith in the whole theory that Marco is going to get in a relationship with Kokachin. He still might do that. I don't know though. And I still feel like Kaidu's daughter is going to end up pregnant by Marco. And she's going to end up showing, like, the baby's going to start growing and everything. She's going to start showing that she's pregnant and everything. And I still think that Ahmed's the one who did it. Though I'm starting to think that maybe Yusuf might have done it too a little bit more. But yeah, so basically my predictions are basically the same since last episode. That's all for this episode until tomorrow when I upload episode 7. Yeah, episode 7. So hit like if you like this video, hit subscribe if you want any more notifications of me uploading new videos about Marco Polo and any other series that I will review and predict in future episodes. With that said, I will see you until the next episode. Bye!